Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to today's Pick a Card reading. Today we are doing a reading on your perception of this connection versus theirs. Theirs being, well, them being the person on your mind, hopefully, or someone that you need to know about. Feel free to choose as few or as many groups as you feel drawn to. Hint, hint. And this topic was suggested by one of you, and I felt like it sounded pretty good to do and try. So hopefully you will enjoy this reading or find it helpful, even if you don't enjoy it. And yeah, happy to be here. And happy to be here a lot more often than I used to be. So hopefully that will keep going. And I hope you've had a really nice week so far, and I hope I hope you're doing well. And now I will leave you to focus on which group or groups call to you the most, and I will see you soon. Hello, my beautiful group ones, and welcome to your reading. This is, I think, the 7th time that I am trying to film this, literally just the hello part of your reading, because every single time something happened, got interrupted. So hopefully this is the one. Nothing is happening so far, so it seems okay. But speaking of that, maybe that is part of the energy of this connection, is that it feels frustrating, is that things aren't happening when maybe you expected them to happen, or there was promise of things happening, there was potential, a promised potential. I'm seeing the words June in Scorpio, maybe Juno, but let's get into the reading, properly get into the reading, and we'll start with your energy, which is represented by these cards on the left. And their energy I intended to be on the right, but you can flip them around if it makes more sense to you the other way around. So yeah, let's see. Starting off, we have the hummingbird, the Two of Pentacles, we have the mask, Sagittarius, and we have ungrateful daughter and earthly mother, which is also the number 7. So 7 could be significant, or the month of July, maybe June and July this summer has been significant to this connection, but it's just for extra confirmation if you're looking for any. So for them, we have the golden egg, the Four of Pentacles, we have the trickster, we have green, and we have Capricorn. The center card will represent what has been going on in the connection so far, like interactions or what has happened, the current state that it's in, essentially. But we're gonna spend some time with this first, and then we'll take a look at that. So one thing I heard just now when the Four of Pentacles came out is that I have more pentacles than you. And how I would take that to, what I would take that to symbolize, is this person is someone that values their material world. It doesn't necessarily have to be about money, but they value like what they have. They like to have nice things, and to get nice things, they think they have to be a certain way, abide by a set of rules, a set of beliefs, have a certain role in society and in their life, and maybe in their community, in their family, whatever it may be. But what is coming out very strong on their end is a sense of responsibility and a stubbornness around this sense of responsibility, a stubbornness around doing the right thing. But I don't think their perception of what's right is based on a point system that entirely belongs to them. It's something that they have internalized, maybe from their family, maybe from society, gender roles. Maybe they're trying to fit into a particular gender role when they don't actually feel aligned with it. Because we have this trickster energy, so there is a, well, for one, there is a hot and cold tinge to their energy. So on your end, I think this connection is not entirely legible. Like, it feels like you can't read it that well, because one day it feels like one thing and the next something entirely different. And I feel like there haven't been enough conversations had about this situation itself. Maybe you've been in contact with this person, but I just saw 444 because I was just checking if everything is in the frame. And 444, like the number 4, can be about comfort, security, but it can also be prison walls that you're in. And this person seems like their perception of where they're at changes depending on the day and depending on their mood. Sometimes their world feels like just safe, comfortable. And if they think too hard, or something has gone wrong that day, like they were stuck in traffic or they spilled their coffee, then I think this person starts thinking about everything else. So it's a bit all or nothing. It's a bit everything is fine until one thing is wrong, and then everything is wrong. And the reason I'm talking about this is I think that makes this person very cautious, very closed off, very non-risk taking. And you, on the other hand, with this hummingbird energy, I think you are in a place where you feel shifts in the energy around this person. And I could interpret that as having butterflies, like that kind of feeling, a bit of nervousness, a bit of flutters. But I could also take that to be a jittery feeling, depending on where exactly you are on the timeline of this connection. For a lot of you, this will be someone you have some form of contact with, or someone that's on your mind a lot, someone that you feel very connected to, and where you think there may be a lesson or something more to this connection than what meets the eye, something that keeps pulling you in. But I think you look at it as this person and their upbringing, something maybe about their family and their values, or the world that they think they should be living in. That's what's holding them back. I think that's how you view this. You give them a lot of grace, you give them a lot of space, or you have been doing this, and you've been keeping to yourself. I don't think you've pursued this person much necessarily. Potentially more like internally. You could ruminate about this a lot. You could have been trying to gather information about this person, but for a lot of you, I don't think this is a connection you've like openly, fully, properly, entirely pursued in a grounded way. I feel like for a lot of you, you haven't really had a chance to get this connection to a point of true intimacy. I feel like it's more so stayed at the drawing table. Speaking of which, you could both be very creative, or either or. One of you could be creative or into the arts. But this is, for some of you, something you've been trying to manifest. Something that you believe would add to your life or give you some kind of answer to a confusion that you may have been in, maybe about your own identity, about your own role, about your purpose. And I think you see this connection for its potential, for what it could be, that there could be balance, that there could have been something very intense, very deep, something that is not easy necessarily, but something that also has a lot of light-hearted energy. But I think a lot of your perception of this connection comes from looking at the potential or dreaming something up about the connection rather than what has happened so far. Because what has happened itself, it feels very, it's like wispy. That's the word I'm thinking of. Maybe a bit wishy-washy, something that hasn't felt deeply rooted. Maybe the feelings feel that way. The pull, the attraction, I think on your end may be very strong. It may be something that feels very spiritual because you see this situation from a perspective of what just meets the eye, because you are the hummingbird and they're an egg. So you have hatched, you've come out of your shell enough to be able to fly over the situation and look at it differently. But the thing is, I also think this is quite a muddy situation. So even from where you are, which may be a bit of a more intuitive, insightful perspective, I don't think you see this situation very clearly either. And you may attribute a lot of what is happening to this person or what's not happening to this person. I think you may look at it like, I'm ready, or I want to pursue this connection, or if they were open to it, everything would be perfect. But I do think there is maybe a bit of, for some of you, a bit of a deflection of responsibility, because maybe looking at this connection feels in some ways more comfortable than looking at yourself. And not all of you, but I think certain aspects of you may feel I can't find the word I'm looking for, but it's almost like there are parts of you that you may be a bit scared or hesitant to face. Something you know is there, something that hurts, a wound, especially when it comes to the way that you connect with people. Maybe something that ties to just having a lot of patience, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like this has been a situation where that has kind of gotten in your way, or you've accepted too little, or you've accepted too much confusion, and in the end it has kind of blown up in your face, in the sense of, like, it's not making you feel good. I think you do have this fluttery feeling about the connection, that you feel excited about this person, but you also seem to feel very tired. And I think this person also feels very tired. So I think both of you towards the connection are experiencing some kind of exhaustion, but it doesn't come from too much happening in the connection. I feel like it's coming from not enough happening in the connection. Like, you can feel overwhelmed from too much stimulation, but you can also feel your mind, yourself kind of looking for something to do, to focus on. And I feel like for some of you that has been this connection, that it has ended up taking a lot of space in your energy, one, because of this pull that you feel, but maybe also you've had a lot of time to think about it. Maybe because this has been going on for a long time, or maybe because other areas of your life have kind of slowed down, and that has given you time and space to be in your thoughts, to be in your feelings more. But with this mask energy coming out, I also feel for both ends of this situation, both within yourselves and towards the connection, I think I feel like neither of you is showing up entirely authentically. And I don't think you're telling this person what you think and how you feel necessarily. If you've said it once, I don't think you've considered to say it twice. But to me, that comes across a bit like avoiding something within you. Not entirely, as in, like, not, that's not the only reason that I think you're pulled to this connection, but I think there is a slight aspect of introspection that you may be avoiding, and instead you may be focusing on this connection and how this person feels and how they're doing, and you may be trying to fix things for them, give them an oxygen mask before taking care of yourself. And it feels a bit like you maybe aren't noticing that the room you're in is starting to feel a bit stuffy too. Something about this chapter of your life where you've been, maybe it's comfortable, maybe it's fine, but something about it doesn't feel entirely fulfilling. And this comes into the energy of the connection, I think, because it is something that inherently affects the way you interact with the world outside of you. And I'm not at all saying this in a judgy way. I think this is so very human, and I do it too. Like, I also like to keep busy with other things to avoid things, feelings I don't want to think about. And I'm not saying, I'm not in support of this necessarily, but I get it. But also within myself, like, I'm I think what I'm trying to say essentially is that it can be the case for anyone in any situation, and it's not something that calls for judgment or punishment or anything. I think maybe it's just something that has made you feel a bit stuffy about the connection too. A bit like, you know, like, I'm just seeing someone sighing and I feel this almost energy rising up to my neck, but then it gets stuck there. And that makes me think of the throat. That makes me think of self-expression. So there is something you're not expressing into this connection. You're instead redirecting the energy back to yourself, but also a lot of energy into the connection, not physically, just mentally and energetically. This person, they're not giving anything away. They're in their own energy, and they view this connection a bit through a lens of envy, because you seem a lot more free than they are. You seem a lot more like you could be whatever you wanted. At least that's how this person sees it. And they couldn't be. They're not allowed to be. And for some of you, this is because of, maybe beliefs they have, maybe religious, maybe from family. For others of you, I think it's just fear. And in any case, it is fear. It's a fear of rejection, of not being good enough. But it's interesting because this person is not someone who comes across very insecure. Not to the average person that interacts with them. I think they come across quite grounded, maybe inexperienced and or naive in some ways. But overall, they come across as someone with good intentions, a good heart. But it feels like the role that they're playing is not who they really are. It's not that they're playing the role of a bad person, and it's not that they actually are a bad person trying to be in the role of a good person. But it's just that they're actually a strawberry, but they're acting like a pear. I think they feel a sense of frustration and a sense of pressure from this connection. I think if you have even once like confronted this person or talked to them about something, that has left a very lasting impression on them, and it has made them uncomfortable enough because it touched on something that was already sensitive. This connection somehow ties to a part of themselves that they just cannot liberate, a part of them that they just can't look at, a part of them that is very vulnerable. This may have to do with sexuality for some of you, but it's just trying to fit into a mold that they're not going to fit into, or they're gonna like hurt themselves trying to bend into it. I think you feel that about them. And I think they feel that you feel that. And with this green energy, I think this person is someone that looks at you gently, almost a bit sadly, if they allow themselves to sit in their feelings. Sadly, because there is a bit of a sense of longing for the freedom that you have, for the honesty that they think you have. I think this person comes and goes, like, in their mind. Oh, okay, that's a lot of rain. Oh, it's hailing. Oh, well, I'm just gonna quickly close the window, but it is hailing. Maybe the name Haley is significant. Because in my head it's going hailing, hailing, hailing. So, in 21:12, I just saw on the time. But I was just gonna say, I feel like this person's energy comes and goes in between a place of like being very emotional and then not at all. It's like they can kind of turn it off, at least in the way that they behave, even if it's not entirely a perfect mechanism within. They're definitely holding back. They feel like they need to defend themselves, they need to protect themselves from this connection. Not because they think you have bad intentions. Not at all. But because they see a potential that they don't want to be there. Because potential means wondering what if. Potential means wondering what else could be. And they think they need to be in their physical world. They need to be here. They need to be doing what they have been doing. They can't do anything else. And they have a really strong sense of stubbornness towards this. I think you look at this connection as something that you value and something that could have a lot of value for your personal journey, but also for theirs. I do feel for a lot of you, you may be focusing more on what this connection could give this person, what it could heal in them, what it could do for them, rather than looking at what it may be pointing at within you and what your approach to this connection may be saying about your journey. I think this is something you think about very often and something you feel still pulled towards, still attracted towards, something that sometimes makes you feel really excited about the potential of, and then sometimes seems a bit bleak. Like there are too many unanswered questions. Especially about the reciprocity aspect of this connection, because I don't think this person has talked much about their feelings or talked much at all. They may have just walled you off in some ways, like built some walls around you, or the walls were just always there, and they find it difficult to leave their house, maybe quite literally for some of you, because there is this idea, like this energy of a role that they're playing, that everything is fine, but then I feel like they're also not really fulfilled or satisfied or happy or that motivated. So for some of you, this person could be struggling with their mental health. I think they are successful in some way, maybe in their career, maybe studies, maybe they're doing exactly what they want for their job, or they're doing what other people would want to do. They seem like they have it all figured out, but they don't. And they know that. For a lot of you, I think they think you know that. And that makes them uncomfortable, because you can see them in a way that they don't want to be seen in. I think this person is going through a lot of mood swings. Maybe you are as well. Okay. There is a sense of anticipation. On your end. I don't think this person is currently in a place where they're focusing a lot on this connection. I think they're just focused on their own thing, minding their own business. I think they are avoiding this connection. I think they are closed off to it for a lot of you. And I think for a lot of you, you are wondering what it is that pulls you to them, or wondering what it is that makes you so interested in them, or that makes it difficult to walk away from this, because I feel like for a lot of you, there has been a lot of waiting, a lot of trying to figure it out. Maybe not a lot, but enough waiting. You could have met this person online, for some of you as well, or there could just be physical distance between the two of you, because it feels like you are not in the version of their life that they are living right now. They don't see this connection as being part of their life. It's something outside of it. It's something that exists in a different realm than their real life, because they see this connection as only existing if they weren't this version of themselves. And to this person, this version of them is the only version that exists in this realm, in this reality. And I think you see the different realms, and you see this potential other version of them too. But their sense of self is it's not very grounded. It's not very strong. It feels a bit like they could potentially one day wake up and just play an entirely different role. But it's more so that they haven't been doing that because they don't engage with potential. Whereas I think you engage with potential, and you are more likely to manifest that into your reality, into your world. And this person looks at what is and deals with that, works with that, acts on that. Why did I say it that way? Completely forgot about this, but we have gold. Number 26 is coming out. We have 7, 7, 8, and another 8 from the 26. Thinking of loops. Something's been looping. Maybe the same thoughts, the same cycles. But I think a lot of what has happened has just happened, like, for you separately and for them separately. I feel like not much has happened within the connection itself. With this gold energy, for a lot of you, there's been a conversation or an interaction that, for both of you, has given the impression that this connection is significant in some way. And that both of you are valuable people to each other. Both of you have respect for each other. It's not a situation where this person, at least from their perspective, it's not a situation where they feel they disrespect you. And this person looks at this connection as a situation where they're doing the right thing. Because that's what they act on, if it's the right thing or the wrong thing, based on whatever rules they may be attached to currently, whatever rules they may be following currently. Because they are attached somewhere else for a lot of you. They're bound somewhere else. You view this connection as a source of potential wisdom, potential growth, but part of you fears that it's maybe just meaningless and in your head. This person views this connection as something that would take a lot of time to build, a lot of time to get to a point where it would fit into their rules, into their realm. It would take a lot of change, a lot of time passing, especially. A lot of effort for it to be at the level they would need it to be, at the place they would need it to be, which is wherever they are. It's not necessarily the perfect place, but this person is not someone who has been very adventurous in that sense. Even if they have been, like, this is not about physical adventures at all, but more so emotional and spiritual. They haven't been very adventurous in that sense. They haven't done a lot of self-discovery. I think what they know about themselves is that they're fine with this state that they're in. And that they can keep going in this state that they're in. That they can endure a lot, that they can take on a lot of responsibility, they can be responsible, they can be a caring person. But I think a lot of their perception of themselves is based on what they can be, what they can do, rather than what they are, who they are. So there is again a distance, even within themselves, and that distance is also showing up in the way they look at this connection. I think on both ends there is a sense of this could be something, or this could have been something, but it's just mine that hasn't been worked on. It's mine that hasn't, it's mine that just exists. That's what it feels like. Like it's just the understanding that a resource exists here between the two of you, and that energy could be repurposed into something. It could be purposed into something I think on your end, for a lot of you, that is what you've been trying to figure out, what it could be, what could be manifested here, what the next step could be. But this person has been very avoidant. They've come across maybe even a bit sneaky and a bit annoying. They may have annoyed you because they don't give you answers. And for a lot of you, maybe you've stopped expecting answers from this person and you're trying to figure it out on your own. And maybe you're trying to figure out how to get them there too, to wherever you want to go with this connection. Because I think you look at it as someone needs to take control, and ideally it would have been them, but it's not. So maybe you're in a place where you're thinking, how can I take control of this situation? But this person, they're looking at themselves. They're looking at how to control their world. And I think that feels enough to them in a way, or that has felt enough to them, like satisfactory. But is it everything they've ever dreamed of? No. That's not the life that they're living. But I think a lot of you may feel like this person is playing with you. I think you don't want to look at it that way. But for some of you, especially if this person has been very hot and cold, or said one thing, done another, given one impression, done another, totally fair to get irritated with that. But this person looks at it as doing the right thing, doing the responsible thing. And I think there are parts of their own behavior that they are blind to. For some of you, this person could have breadcrumbed you. But I don't think they realize that necessarily. And this person is not someone who sees themselves as having a huge impact on anyone, and not on you. If you are interested in them, they don't think it has anything to do with them. Like, if they know you're interested in them, they don't think it has anything to do with them and who they are and what they could offer. I mean, for some of you, I think this person thinks if you're interested in them, it's maybe more because of material things or what you think they can give you or who you think they are rather than who they actually are. But I think this also is because they don't really know who they are, so they focus on material things, so they assume other people will also focus on material things and want them for material things, because that's kind of what they've told their own self. This is the only thing that they're good for, to like get things done or to be a certain person that they think they need to be. They can fulfill responsibilities, but they don't look at themselves as someone that's like exciting or even interesting, I think. So there is a strong sense of disconnect within, because if they don't know who they are, they don't know what they have to offer besides just maybe material security, or it doesn't even have to be material security as in like they have a lot of money or they have a house or anything along those lines. It's just kind of a role to fit, like the role of a partner or the role of a friend, but just in the most material sense of that. I'm having kind of a hard time putting this into words. I think this person also has a hard time putting their perception of things or their feelings into words. Just there is kind of a disruption in expression. But it's almost like they look at it as if someone's interested in them, it's the idea of them and what they could be that the person is interested in rather than who they really are. And I think that comes with a layer of resentment that is projected onto whoever is in front of them. But it's actually resentment for maybe for some of you as like society as a whole, or their community or family, but most importantly themselves, for not seeing who they really are and not bothering to look either. And so because they treat themselves that way, they assume everyone else also would. And that, I think, just creates a resentful feeling, because they want to be seen, even if they wouldn't say it. They want to be appreciated, even if they wouldn't say it. They want to be admired, but they wouldn't say it. And I think that's why they try so hard to fit into whatever role it is that they're trying to fit into, because they want to be accepted and liked and cared for. And following the rules for this person seems to be the only way they think they can get appreciation or a sense of love, or it's the only way people will care about them. Maybe they come from a family with perfectionist parents, or they only received validation or rewards when they did something right. So they were rewarded for what they can do, like getting good grades or doing chores or whatever it may be, or just conforming to what their family expected of them. And then only then maybe they felt loved or appreciated. And I think that has made them have a bit of a distorted view of what connections are about. I think for a lot of you, you could be friends with this person, but I think you look at it as a situationship with potential, and they look at it as like a distant land almost. Maybe you do have physical distance between the two of you. I want to see if there is anything else we're missing. We have the King of Wands. They are drawn to you, I think, but they are more attached to whatever image it is that they've been building, maybe whatever legacy. We have the Devil. Capricorn energy is coming through again. Capricorn season could be significant. If you're watching this at the time I'm posting it, that is almost coming up. How does this person view this connection, please, Spirit? It's interesting because they have this like almost distorted image of thinking they are free right now. And I think in some way this is mirrored within you too. Because I think the way you have looked at this connection for some of you has kind of gotten in the way of you getting what you want, or doing what you want, or going somewhere that you want to go to, because of this pull towards the connection, this attachment towards the connection. And for them, they, in their own way, they think they have some freedom in their life of, doing what they want to do, maybe materially, or not having, not being in a relationship, and they're free, but they're actually not, because they are being controlled by their fears. I think both sides here could be approaching this connection from a place of fear. We have Strength. A lot of stubbornness coming through. Spirit, please, how does this person view this connection? How is this person viewing this connection, please, Spirit? I saw the Three of Wands, Swords, and the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Oh, what do we have? We have the Hierophant, Taurus. It's very interesting because it's like different layers. You see, it's all figures staring at each other. And the outermost figure doesn't see any of this background at all. And I think this is the energy that this person is embodying. They come across reckless. They come across inconsiderate. I think you see them as having a lot of potential, but having been not pursuing any of that potential at all. But I think you hope that they do. And this person, this is kind of related to their big life lesson. A big lesson in their life. The biggest lesson of their life, probably. As in, the way they interact with this connection ties to that, to a pattern that has held them back from being who they actually are. Because they've kept bending themselves to fit into a narrative, a realm they don't actually necessarily feel at home in. I don't remember if I said it anymore, but Taurus energy could be significant. Bottom deck energy, the Moon and the Hermit, Virgo and Pisces energies. They're muting themselves. Muting their real self, what they really want. And again, this could have to do with something like sexuality, but it could also have to do with something like this person thinks they're not meant to be in a relationship because relationships always end and they're meant to be alone, but deep down they want a family. Or they have surface level connections and say that's more fun and that's what they prefer, but deep down they're craving emotional connection. But they are quite emotionally, like there's a level of detachment to them emotionally. Overall, I think this is kind of their attitude as they go about life, but they are a deeply emotional person and they're not seeing that fear is an emotion too. Emotions are not just attachment and love, and for some of you, this person almost seems to look at that as weakness, because then they're vulnerable. And for a lot of you, it feels like someone taught them this. We have the Page of Wands. They're more inclined, or they have been more inclined to, bottom deck is a Two of Cups in reverse, to act on whims, but still within the same set of rules. For some of you, maybe this is a friends with benefits situation that promised more, but then this person walked away from it or pushed it away and left you hanging, because there is a sense of waiting in your energy, pause. And this person is also paused, but it's like they're living the same picture, the same photograph over and over again. Like they're kind of stuck in a moment. And for you, it feels like you want to move forward in some way, but you keep glancing back at them, glancing at this photograph that this person's in. Now I'm thinking of Harry Potter and like the live photographs. anything else that wants to come through, please, Spirit? All right, this is where we will take it to the extended, where we will look at, well, first we'll get tons of channeled messages from this person, and I've been using the new channeled messages deck as well recently. So just got a bunch of unexpected texts. I just wanted to read you what we're looking at in the extended, but so we will get tons of channel messages from this person, and we will look at Spirit's view of the connection. So the objective, kind of like fill in the gaps between your perspectives and look at the truth of the connection and also potential. And we will then answer the questions: what's next in the connection, and how will that shift the situation / dynamic? If you are interested, the link is down below. If you're not, that is perfectly fine, and I hope this reading was helpful to you. I am sending you tons of love. Take care, and bye. Hello, my beautiful group 2s, and welcome to your reading. Today we are looking at your perception of this connection versus the perception of the person on your mind. And on the left side is your energy, and on the right side is the person on your mind, but you can flip them around if it makes more sense the other way around. But the intention is that this represents your energy and this represents theirs. There will also be an extended, but we will talk about that later on. I just realized I put these in the wrong order, which is fine, but I also feel that your energies were mismatched in this connection. I'm also noticing I just said were. So for a lot of you, this is maybe going to be someone the phrase I heard was tired, like someone that you're tired of dealing with. So for a lot of you, I think this is someone that, let's be real, didn't really treat you right. And I think you've put up with a lot from this person. I think you have a lot of awareness over this connection because you've spent a lot of time figuring this person out. And I think once you started seeing the truth of it, it's like one thing led to another, and the story maybe became undone quite fast, because I feel like maybe with this connection you were expecting one thing and then you were served something completely different than the impression that was given to you. Starting off, we have the Eagle and the 7 of Wands in reverse. We have mutable, the inner child, and the one who hides the sun, which is the number 8. Leo energy could be significant, as well as all mutable signs, but it's just for extra confirmation if you're looking for any. And if not, just ignore it. We have the Lamb, the 3 of Pentacles, Saturn, the sibling, and the sheep who wandered and found a different shepherd, which is interesting because we have the lamb and we have the sheep. And we have the number 26, which I'm hearing collapses into an 8. Well, adds up to an 8, but collapse. This connection may feel like it collapsed, like from right beneath your feet. You believed, I'm hearing you believed this person. I think you have a lot to say about this connection that you haven't gotten to say to this person. You've had to repress it. You've had to push it down. You've had to almost mute that energy. You've had to bend to be able to okay with some things this person has done. It's like you were already healing, you were already trying to heal, and then this person showed up and it appeared like they would be the healing thing, but it's almost like they made a wound bigger. And in a way, I think for some of you, it could be that they didn't make the wound bigger necessarily, but they shed light onto it. They made you look at a wound from a different light. Not intentionally. I think a lot of this seems unintentional in the sense that I kind of want to switch these around, actually. In the sense that this is not someone who is very self-aware. So let's start with their perspective, because they see themselves as innocent, and I think right off the bat you disagree with that. I think you have given them a lot of grace, a lot of the benefit of the doubt. I think you have waited for better to come from this person, but they have looked at it as, I did nothing wrong. And if I did something wrong, it wasn't that I wanted to do something wrong. I think there is a certain level of grace that they give to themselves. I don't know if it's very genuine. I think it's just maybe easier to look at it from a perspective of, I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my responsibility. It happens. It's normal. It's life. I think this person can justify some of their behaviors like this, and they probably have. It's a bit like, things happen, like, let it be. Which I think has been very difficult to deal with on your end, because I think you have a really gentle spirit and a really gentle heart. And I think you have put a lot of importance on this connection. It has meant a lot to you, which makes sense, because I think there has been a deep sense of connection here that this person themselves, they are able to get to that level too, but they have chosen to walk away or put distance between the two of you through their behavior. For some of you, you could have been forced to walk away from this situation because this person was just not showing up. Like, they were on paper showing up, but they weren't actually showing up. Or they were doing like the bare minimum. But for a lot of you, I think there is a sense of betrayal here, or this person maybe having walked away and chosen another situation over this connection, whatever that situation may be. It could be like a work commitment. It could be that they chose to be with someone else. Even though we have the sibling card, I mean, I could see this being a family member for some of you, where this person was meant to side with you, but they didn't. In any case, it is a deep connection. It is an intimate connection in any meaning of the word intimacy, not necessarily. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in this connection as well. Like, a lot of hesitation. There is a sense of fear on this person's end, or like this being new territory. They see this connection as new territory. I think that has a lot to do with the stage that it is in now, because the dynamic, it seems to have shifted in a way. They're kind of experiencing a harsher energy than you appear to be, or at least that is their perception, even if that is not the truth of it, even if you're also experiencing this energy quite heavily, which for a lot of you, I think you are, because it seems like this connection, at least at some point, was something that you took to heart and that you took very personally. Like, this person's behavior and the way that they were treating you, it may have been that they attributed their behavior to yours and made it seem like it's your fault, or you did too much, or you did too little, or you were too much, or you were too little. None of these are true. They're kind of just like a soup of words that this person has been cooking up because it tastes better to them than the bitter medicine they'd have to take if they were fully honest that their behavior. Someone here works at a kindergarten or like works with kids. It could be this person for some of you as well, that they work with kids or something about kids. Some of you may have children with this person. You look at this connection as like, I was ready to give. I was ready to be a good partner. I was ready to do my very best. And I think some of you have taken what has happened here and taken that as a lesson of like, what I was giving was not enough. But I think deep down you know that that's not the case, and that's not what this situation ties to. It has nothing to do with what you were willing to give, besides the fact that what you were willing to give was not a match to what this person was willing to give. Besides the fact that it was a mismatch and maybe a connection where you invested a lot without a lot of return or reciprocity, doesn't define you or depict something about you. Because this person, they play things off, but they are not stupid. But they are afraid. They do feel small. If they were to tell a story about themselves, they would make themselves bigger. Like, they would describe themselves to be better, to be bigger, to be more important, to be more in control, to be more of all the things that are positive to them, and to be less of all the things that are negative. This person views this connection as work, as responsibility, as commitment, as collaboration, which is not entirely incorrect, because true, deep, genuine, authentic connections do require work. First of all, inner work and honesty with our own selves. And this person has done neither of those things to the extent that you have. And that is the mismatch, because this person is not entirely unaware of themselves and their behavior. But it is almost a bit of a deliberate choice that they make. Do they want to do the hard thing, or do they want to take the easy, smooth path? And I think for a lot of you, this person keeps answering that question with the latter, that they want to take a smooth path and not the path that scares them, not the path that is foggy, not the path that isn't as clear. And maybe this path you see is like much clearer. Maybe you have a list of all the work that this person would need to do for this connection to work. I think you have a lot more figured out about this situation. I think you know this person has the potential to do different, to do better. And seeing that maybe has been what has been the most painful for you in this connection, because you have had an inkling of what could be, but what you were served was maybe a lot more disappointing than you expected or wished or hoped more so for it to be. This person, in some ways, they are almost viewing this connection as a competition, as some kind of like rivalry of who's right and who's wrong, of who has made better points. And I think this person is a bit emotionally immature in the sense that partnerships are not ever really about who's right and who's wrong. They're more about being a team and figuring out the right thing together. And that means sometimes one of you messes up and the other fixes it. The other holds, one person holds the other person's hand, or you walk through it together. And I think this person has not really been looking at this connection from that perspective. It's almost a bit of a lopsided dynamic of they wanted to be the one in charge, but they wanted you to be like the mastermind of the connection, if that makes sense. Like the one doing all the work for it, but then they make the decisions. And in a way, this person is not someone that ever wants to be out of control, because the world is scary when they don't have control over it. Within themselves, I think they feel quite small. So they wear this big armor, and they're drawn to people who make them feel like they are in control. But it is an illusion. And in some ways, they're aware of this because they like a sense of safety. They like a sense of security. It brings them comfort, but the comfort part is the illusion. They're not comfortable. They're just avoiding the discomfort by looking at other people, other things, distractions, connections. And once things get too intense or they require real accountability or commitment, then they, I think, may have a tendency to look for the next thing. No matter how much they valued the connection itself. Because in their own way, I think this connection has been very valuable to this person. It's just that they haven't been able to, and I won't say they haven't been able to, it's that they haven't shown up in the way that they could have. As a true partner, I think, I'm thinking of the hair and how like hair holds energy, memory. Constriction is, I don't even know where it is, but it's, I hope it's not too distracting. But it is loud, so I hope it's not really showing up on camera. I'm thinking of hair, and I'm thinking of hair in the sense that I think this person, they view this connection as something that has been very impactful for them, but something that they've just moved past because that was the correct thing to do for them. I think they have acted in a way that was a bit selfish, potentially, but that was them following their intuition, or that was them following what they think is right. That was them acting based on their own values and not really considering yours. And I think the way you look at this connection, for one, I think you've become wiser about it, whereas you may have in the past shown up a bit more from a place of just like where you had hopes for this connection rather than looking at it truthfully as to what has happened. I think there have been difficult truths to accept about this connection, and I think you have been very, very brave in facing all of this energy on your own, because I think this person hasn't really helped you with the undercurrents of the connection, with the deep emotions that surface with this connection. I feel like it's almost that they've handed their emotions to you too, made that your responsibility to deal with. Like, if they're triggered, it's your fault because you did this thing wrong. I think this person can be very critical of others, but that is because they are so critical of themselves. In fact, I think they have such kind of a cross relationship with their own self that making another mistake would just be one mistake too much to sustain a relationship with themselves. I think there is just kind of a no. It's interesting because I think they give themselves a lot of grace, but they're only able to do that by just not taking accountability, or like making big things small, making important things unimportant. But it's an illusion, whatever it is that they're projecting. I'm, in my mind's eye, I'm seeing like those projectors where you can project like stars. This connection is something they see as very meaningful, but it's something they haven't shown up for. They haven't met you where they said they would. So they see it as something they walked away from and left behind. Something they didn't choose because they didn't want to choose the work. Again, they wanted the easy path. But this is not something they can avoid. Whatever lesson and truth they're escaping is not something they can avoid forever. But this pink smoke around them may make it appear like their life right now is a lot more promising than it really is, or that they have a lot more option than they really do. Because I feel like there is an aspect to this person's energy where they're reliving the same story, just with a different appearance. And you may feel the same. And I think you do feel the same for a lot of you, where you feel like it's always wolves that you deal with, and they always look like they're sheep. And they act like sheep, but you know at this point that they're wolves. And the thing is, I think this connection for some of you has made you a lot more fearful, which is totally understandable, especially if this person has really hurt you. I feel like for a lot of you, this person has put you through it, and you have not said a single word for a long time until it was like the breaking point. Because I think you took that as your responsibility to bend for this person, because that's what you do when you care about someone. And in a way, yeah, we make compromises for people we care about. We make compromises for sometimes the greater good of a relationship. Sometimes we make really difficult choices. But making all of that, doing all of that, that was never on your shoulders. And I think this person just like strapped all of it on you, and they're like, okay, you're good to go now, like do the work and I'll be chilling in the garden here. That's what it feels like to me. Like this person just handed a lot of weight onto you that was never yours to carry. And now I feel this energy of distance and separation, and that has made you able to fly again and see things from where you can. This person can't fly. We have these earth energies for them. And for you, we have this eagle. You can fly and you can see really well. In fact, you're known for how well you can see things that try to hide, people that try to hide. And these people may feel hunted by you, but you're not hunting them. You're literally just staring. You're just observing. They feel hunted because they're running from themselves. And for once, they have someone witnessing that. And that can feel very scary. But it's not that you're doing the wrong thing. And if you've held this person accountable, you didn't do the wrong thing. I know you already know that, but maybe this person made it seem like, oh, if you didn't like confront me about this, things would be fine. Or if you didn't make such a big deal of this, it would be fine. Well, when connecting with someone, if we hurt someone, it's our responsibility to do something with it. We can choose not to do something with it, but we can also choose to do something with it. But it is our choice. It is not that the other person should choose to just not be hurt. And I think logically this person knows that makes sense, but I don't think that's the image they've reflected onto you. They may have used your pain as an excuse to stay away from you. And that's on them. Because they use their own pain as an excuse to stay away from their own self and other people. They use it as an excuse to isolate themselves, because that feels more comfortable than being vulnerable and authentic and potentially getting rejected for the deepest, darkest parts of them, maybe parts that they're ashamed of or things they're guilty about. This person looks at this connection as something that calls for confrontation, for like serious judgment. And I don't think it's that you're judgmental at all. I think you have been the opposite of that to this person, and that's why they got so comfortable. Because they looked at it like it was forever. As long as it was comfortable, it could have been forever. But I think you could not unsee certain things within this connection, and you had to hold them accountable for it. because you saw more than what this person thought you were seeing, because they're looking at things from the ground, but you weren't. And that's the thing. And I think that's what caused this rift that I feel between the two of you, the two energies here. I think you still hold space for this connection, for some kind of resolution, for some kind of healing from it. This person is experiencing the 4 same walls over and over again. They're behind a fence, but the fence isn't even something they can't get past. It's something they're choosing not to get themselves out of. So far, at the very least. But I think you have looked at this connection with the best intentions, with something that has caused wounds to surface, but you have known what to do with that energy. You haven't been terrified of it, or even if you have, you've seen through the fear of approaching this connection, because you also know that it could be very rewarding to explore yourself deeply and to do that with someone else, with a partner. So for the connecting energies of what has happened so far, we have smoke. The number 32 could be significant, which also adds up to a 5. Things have changed in this connection, and I think they've happened in a way that was unexpected for this person. Either something has shifted in the dynamic, or you, like, this is talking about a confrontation you may have had with them, some kind of information you took to them that you found out about them and you wanted to talk about it, or you wanted them to be honest, or you were expecting an apology, some responsibility, some accountability. This person, I think, tried to add different smoke to smoke that already existed, rather than getting rid of the smoke. Like, it was already confusing, it was already foggy, and this person just lit a cigarette on top of it and put you in even more smoke. Made things even more confusing. Maybe they were caught lying and they made up more lies to cover up for it, to try to cover up for it. And I think you see this connection as an opportunity to truly be vulnerable and to truly see someone exactly as they are, as a flawed human being, and to be viewed as one as well. Because that's what we all are, flawed human beings. And sometimes when we get in our head, we find it very difficult to accept that we are flawed, everyone in a different way. But nobody's perfect and nobody has to be, and I think you understand that. I don't think this person accepts that about themselves, because they don't want to be viewed as bad, which seems very simplistic, but I think there is a bit of an emotionally immature energy to this person. Maybe as a child they felt like they didn't quite live up to what they were supposed to be or who they were supposed to be. And I think they've carried that with them, that they will never measure up to who or what, I don't know. But there is an energy of being insufficient within this person, and I think you were giving them a lot of grace, a lot of acceptance. But that doesn't mean you accept everything that they do, especially if they're not being accountable for it. Because that's the thing, we are all capable of hurting other people, but we're also all capable of taking responsibility for it and doing something about it. That's where we have to make a decision. What matters more? Feeling safe, or putting ourselves out there and being real and vulnerable and taking responsibility and accepting I'm not perfect and I messed up? I don't think this person can easily come up and say that, or if they do, it feels like they're brushing it off. Like they're saying it just so they don't have to actually deal with it or actually do work. It feels like you view this person as like having spoken empty words, having made empty promises, and this person kind of looks at it from a perspective of, well, things change. I can't predict everything I'm gonna feel. I can't predict, like, if I say something now, maybe I'll mean it in this moment, but maybe I'll change my mind later. And I think there is a bit of a non-committal energy to them overall, because there is a fear of, yeah, being caught in a situation, being stuck in a situation they don't want to be stuck in. Like, they always need to have an exit plan. And I think you didn't want an exit plan, even if maybe the circumstances made you create one. I think you didn't want to have an exit plan in this connection. I want to get some more, yeah, I cut the deck and we have the Ten of Swords and Justice in reverse. There was a very painful ending here. It feels really heavy. It may have felt like a little death, an ego death, Strength in reverse for you, where you had to face where you have been abandoning yourself because someone or something taught you that that's your story. I think by now you are starting to see that that's not true at all. But I think it has been very painful to experience this severance or this separation or this ending within this connection. However exactly this energy may have played out. I don't know why I don't just make more space to shuffle. And maybe that is something that rings true for you. There's an energy of you like not having space almost. That this connection has been so consuming, so intensely felt, that you haven't been able to focus on other things, focus on your own path for some time. Which is understandable, and everything at your own pace, there's no rush. Spirit, for group 2, please. How does group 2 view this connection? How is group 2 viewing this connection? Still undecided in some sense. If there has been an ending, I think you don't necessarily see it as a definitive one. Maybe because you still have some questions that you would like answered, or a story that you would like to continue with this person. We have the 8 of Cups, but it is something you've had to almost like evacuate temporarily. Like you're in a building, it's flooding, you have to evacuate, but you'll come back once the flood is gone, once it's fine again. And I think you feel that you've been forced into making this choice or forced into staying away from this connection, but it has not stopped being something you reflect about, something you feel emotionally tied to, something that brings up a lot of very strong emotions. Sometimes it can feel suffocating too. Spirit, please, how does this person on group 2's mind view this connection? How does this person view this connection? How is this person viewing this connection? The Prince of Swords, which I think is the Knight of Swords. Yeah, that's the Knight of Swords. And bottom deck energy is the Page of Swords in reverse. I think this person currently is emotionally detached from this connection. They're not really engaging their emotions in this situation. But it's interesting because if you look at this image, it's like there is absolute chaos around the Knight of Swords. And this, like, there's also blood at the end of the blade that the Knight is touching. So is it the Knight's own blood? And I think it kind of is. They're hurting themselves. That's how they see it. That being in this connection is hurting them. being in this connection has hurt them. That they have to be realistic about this situation. But it's like there's literal war going on around them in their world and in our world, which is unbelievable. But anyway, not getting into that, but we have the Three of Swords as well. Like they're in a battlefield, and out of everything going on there, and also the fact that they're literally putting their blade to their own finger, they're looking at you and they're like, you hurt me. You did this to me. This connection did this to me. But ignoring the fact that they're literally on a battlefield and actively cutting themselves, like with the blade, cutting their finger. And I think this kind of like mental gymnastics, and I'm thinking of the word mental gymnastics, the words mental gymnastics, because I got like a headache suddenly. So I think this person tries really hard to not look at what there is and not look at this as like an opportunity that was lost because they didn't plan right, because they didn't plant their seeds in the correct season. They just say, no, it was barren anyway. It wasn't fertile land. I couldn't have ever grown a garden there. Ignoring the fact that they didn't even try to plant the seeds at the right time or plant the right seeds for this type of soil. We have the Ace of Wands, but they do see it as something that is inevitably very attractive to them. Something that has ignited a fire in them that they can't unsee, but they are looking away. This connection has made them feel small. And this person doesn't like to feel small. It makes them feel helpless. And it's not that they already didn't feel small. It's just that this connection has been the flame that brought that to their attention. Because if they were sitting in the dark before and they felt small and like the world felt too big around them, it's dark, so they don't see. So it doesn't matter. But once you bring light into that equation, they've had to look. And now they're, instead of closing their eyes, that's what it feels like. They do see this connection as something that has been lost. And they do look at that as the right thing. We have the Hierophant. And I know that may be painful to hear because I know, and it's fair, if you expect this person to like have learned their lesson or to be suffering, it's kind of a natural human reaction, even if it's not the most helpful one. So I'm not judging or anything. Like, nothing I say comes from a place of judgment. Spirit, what else, please? Is there anything else? How is this person viewing this connection? The Ace of Wands again. Lots of attraction. Lots of not just physical, but also emotional attraction. The Ace of Cups in reverse. But the emotional part, they're holding closer to themselves. That's the thing. So for some of you, this person, like you may be sleeping with this person, or their affection towards you may be of more like lust energy in the way that it comes across. But I think that's more so the energy that they're able to express better, especially like because it's maybe a bit more of an impulsive energy. And maybe because it's a more impulsive energy, it is easier to express it or embody it for this person. Because that just feels like natural, like instinct, and emotions don't seem to have that same tune to them for this person. We also have the Knight of Cups. So yeah, this has been a situation where they were emotionally invested. I think they still are, but that's not what they're talking about. That's not what they want to focus on. We have the Three of Cups in reverse. That's more so what they want to avoid. Is there anything else, Spirit? Or we will take it to the extended, and I will quickly tell you what we're looking at there. First, anything else, Spirit, that wants to come through? Okay, we are taking it to the extended, where we will start off by getting tons of channel messages, also from the new channel messages deck that I finally started building, but we'll use the old decks as well, of course, the old deck and the message bag. And after that, we will take a look at what's happening next in this connection, and then we will answer the question, how will that shift the dynamic or the situation between the two of you? And we will finish off with Spirit's perception of the connection, like the objective perspective of the connection and the dynamic, and fill in any gaps that there may be with the information that we currently have, and advice. It's kind of been a little bit of everything with group 1, like touched on everything we mentioned, so it will probably be the same for you. So if you're interested, the link will be down below, and if not, that is perfectly fine. I hope this reading was helpful to you. I am sending you tons of love. Take care, and bye. Hello, my beautiful group 3s, and welcome to your reading. Today we're looking at your perception of the connection versus theirs. And we will start with these oracle cards first. The left side represents your energy, the right side represents the person on your mind, or the person you need to know about, whoever it may be. But if it doesn't seem right and you want to flip the energies around, that is also perfectly fine. But I will just refer to the left side energy as you and the right side energy as them. So there will also be an extended, but we will talk about that later on. And let's get into this energy. I'm quite excited about this because I was just thinking of this card and what a strong energy it is, the connecting energy. And for the other groups, we started with the like individuals, but for your group, I want to start with the connecting energy because I just pulled it and I was a bit like breathless by it. Maybe you can kind of hear it in my voice that I'm a bit breathless, and I have no reason to be breathless. I've just been sitting for the past like hour doing group 2's extended reading. So yeah, no reason to be out of breath, but so we have the androgen. And the thing with this energy is that it's about union, but it's not about just union, throw it out there as a concept kind of energy. It's not just like a word you throw around. This is union in the deepest sense. And this connecting energy, this card, for me, I pulled it to represent essentially what has happened so far and what the current state of affairs is within this situation. But the thing is, I don't think true union has happened in this connection so far. I think this is kind of an energy that is being experienced in a different dimension almost, a vision that you have, a feeling, an intuition, a pull that exists between you and this person, almost like you're pulling them from a different dimension. If you could see me now, I'm literally just staring at a spot on the wall. My eyes are like, I can't move them right now. It's like I'm fixated on that spot, and I found when I'm reading usually, well, this can happen when the energy is very intense and there's just a lot coming through, so I have to sit still if that makes sense, like to brace for it. Like I feel it sensationally all throughout my body. So if this is your group, you would know, because this is something that feels overwhelming, groundbreaking, something that people wouldn't believe if you told them, or people would just be like, ah, yeah, you're just exaggerating, like, you know, it's... And the thing is, this is a kind of connection that you've been waiting for, and for some of you, this is a connection you've been waiting for, and you may have not met this person yet, but only take that if it resonates. If you already have someone in mind, go with that. But if you don't, and you thought you would hear about an ex, and it could be an ex still, in the sense that if you feel this way, like, about anyone, it can apply. And union doesn't have to be that you are meeting this person for the first time, or you can't have history with them. That's not necessarily the case. So, with that said, this is the kind of union that brings out every single part of you. It's not about lust. It's not just about, like, romance. It's not about any of that. It's not about the fantasy of it. It's the reality of it. And real union can be very liberating. It can be very intense. It can be very beautiful. It can be very joyful, but it can also, I mean, it's a responsibility in a way. It's holding yourself accountable. It's holding the other person accountable to stay in that state as well. It's not just about getting there. It's not just about being there, but it's about consistently doing the work to stay there, or to grow from there consistently. Because you are in a body with limits, with edges and curves and boundaries, but you in your essence are boundless. I don't know why I said it in such a weird way. There's a lot of creativity? No, a lot of energy to create. I feel like it's like the kind of energy that makes you stumble. So I'm stumbling over my words as well. It's quite interesting. And interesting doesn't feel like it does this energy justice. I think some of you have lost faith in the existence of this kind of energy, and I think some of you are here from a different pile as well. If you had doubts between the other groups in this one, there could be two groups for you, but use your own intuition on that. Like, I'm not telling you you must go watch another group, but if you felt called, I already felt it in one of the two that I was filming, but I don't want to influence you, so you decide. But for some of you, this is something that almost feels like frozen in time. Frozen in time in the sense that I could take that to mean this situation had promise and then it never really came through in that way. Or it's frozen in time as in it's like a dream, a distant dream, a fantasy, something that you pick up on, but something that hasn't arrived. So it feels like it's frozen in time because it hasn't advanced into something more. If you have met this person, I feel like things will likely have felt very intense, but also kind of, I heard nonsensical. And maybe that's what this person would call it, but it's kind of in a joking manner. It's not meant to be like an insensitive thing. They say it's not meant to mean that it's not meaningful to them. It's more so like, this is nuts. This is, what is this? This is unexpected, and I didn't think this would happen to me. I feel like that's kind of the sentiment. And speaking of, let's start looking at their energy first. We have the Wolf. We have the Ten of Wands. We have solar eclipse. Leo energy could be significant, though I'm not necessarily getting Leo energy. I don't even know why I said that. I mean, I know why I said it is because it's the sun, but I'm not necessarily getting Leo energy from this person. I think they actually have a like earthy, watery tinge to them. Cast your sacred symbols, which is the number 63. The number 39 will be significant to someone. And we have the dancer. We have, for your energy, the horse. Power horse, powerhouse. Spiritual powerhouse energy, this one. I love the horse card in this deck as well. I don't know, I just love this crescent situation happening there. We have the Two of Swords in reverse. We have fire. I want to sing to you. I won't, for your sake. But I want to sing to you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you've been singing a lot. Maybe you should sing. But singing could be about self-expression as well, just like letting your voice be heard. The gallery of those who came before, and we have the hare. You have grown really wise over your experiences, like over your time. I'm hearing over your time on Earth. Okay. Getting into that territory now, apparently, but that's what I'm hearing. You've had a lot of time to build a lot of wisdom. You've had a lot of opportunity. If not a lot of time, a lot of opportunity. And that usually means you've been through it, right? I don't think you've had it easy, especially not emotionally, but I feel like your soul, your spirit, your commitment to everything, your commitment to yourself, it has all been challenged, and it has been challenged intensely. This is better. Yeah, singing to you. Playing this. Yeah. This person's been calling to you, right? You've dreamt of a connection like this. And you've maybe thought you were being unrealistic with it. You were being... Yeah, like there's a sense of either having been told this or you just gave up on this dream that you once had, the vision that you had, the kind of relationship that you wanted. The people you've dealt with maybe made you believe that's not possible, and no such person exists, but that's not the truth. The same as a lot of other illusions we fall into throughout life. It's true that nobody's perfect, and if you're expecting someone perfect, yeah, maybe that is a bit unrealistic, but I don't think you expect perfection. I think you expect harmony, balance, peace, respect, effort, accountability. All of these are fair asks, very fair asks. But I think the people you've dealt with have not been in this energy. And you've gotten to a point where maybe you're just speed walking through life a bit, having become a bit more numb in terms of how much you're investing into this hope, because it's become something that tires you out. And whether you've met this person or not, I think you feel this energy of someone, of something big coming. It's just not arriving for some reason. It's just not been there when you've looked for it. And so you've had to revisit the past, see what you did wrong, or see what you didn't finish, or see what needs to be wrapped up, or see what still remains on the to-do list to get this thing that you want. But that has never been the key. And I'm not gonna give you like a bunch of philosophy now, but I think what's being highlighted here is there's been a click, a shift, almost like a rip in a curtain. That's what I'm seeing. it knocked something into place. Maybe in your head, maybe something finally made sense. But there is a movement in your energy towards this situation because you have stopped feeling helpless. And you have stopped feeling like a consequence of your circumstances. And you have started feeling like a creator. Whether you've said this to yourself or it's just a slight shift in your essence and the way you carry yourself, the way you hold yourself, the way you set a boundary and you keep it, or the way you started enjoying life again. You started having fun again. Because I feel like you've been doing so much inner work, like healing. And healing is a constant, if you let it be a constant, in the sense that we'll always have to heal. Life isn't perfect. There is always heavy energies around. We can't run from it. But by taking things as they come, we're also not wasting time. And you may have felt like you're wasting time. Like you've wasted time dwelling or not getting it done fast enough, or you were like trying to meet a deadline, but there is no deadline. That's the thing. There is no deadline. It's about the journey. Wherever you get to, you're going to get somewhere else from there. Whatever you settle down with, wherever you start building for yourself, you will continue building. Because after life, there is also death, right? Life, living, whatever we have in this state is not the final form. It is not the final destination, and death is not either. Maybe there is no final destination, and the point is to be okay with that. And I think you've really relaxed into the energy of your intuition, your spirituality. I think you have really leveled up, and I think you look at this connection as maybe a bit of a fantasy. Maybe from a lens of, I hope this is not a repetition of the past, and I hope I don't have to learn a lesson again. You probably will have to learn a lesson again, but maybe, probably not the same ones. It's almost like you've been such a good student, but then like you've stayed, or you feel like you haven't like graduated yet. There's a focus on the ending, the end, the final state. And I think maybe you've gotten to a point where you see the final state is not the answer. I mean, in some ways it can be. It can be something that brings hope or motivation. It can be a goal. But the final state is not necessarily the end point of all things. It is probably also the beginning of something else. In some way, maybe I'm getting a bit philosophical with this, but I feel like this connection runs very deep. And because of that, I feel the need to get kind of philosophical about it. But looking at this person's energy, because we have kind of neglected them. And I think maybe in your haste to heal, to be ready, to prepare for them, you have kind of ignored this person and their energy. Not intentionally. This person has been in your vicinity. Whether you've just felt them intuitively or like you've had a mutual friend this whole time, but they never introduced the two of you, or you met them years ago, but it didn't take off and now you're seeing them again, or you're about to. It's kind of like an unfinished story. A story that had a beginning, like you were inspired to write it, but then you put it away. And it still is your story. And the beginning of it has been written, but what happens next? Who knows? I feel like it's a bit of a too many unknowns kind of situation, but you know enough, you feel enough about it to be in some way certain of its existence, but I think you have some self-doubt in it as well, because you don't want to invest in something that you intuitively feel, because maybe the past has shown you that your intuition can be wrong. But what was wrong was not your intuition. It's a lot more complicated than that, right? We can get in our own way with what we're afraid of, with our anxieties, with self-limiting beliefs. We can assign meaning to things to not accept other truths. Whatever the pattern here was, I think a lot of that energy has been cleared. I think you've done so much introspection, so much work, that it's time to go out and have fun. And it's almost like it's been time to have fun for some time now. But maybe you feel like, I just need to be more productive, or I just need to get this done, or I just need to figure this out. I have to be on this path. I have to do everything right. Otherwise, I'll miss this, but you won't. And that's the thing. Because on this person's end, what have they done to call you in? What have they done to attract you? What have they done to fall in your intuitive field? They've just been living. This person is not someone who has dreams of a big romance. And I'm not saying that to discourage you, because that doesn't mean this person cannot have that. In fact, they're built for it, but they're just so busy living, so busy, so consumed by their own world and by the mysteries of the world and their own existence. This is someone who's very curious and who likes to have a hand in everything. And I don't mean that in that way. They like to be involved, but they're very independent. Like, they take care of people they don't want to be taken care of. And that has been this person's lesson too. That they have gone through life kind of alone, with a lot of responsibilities towards other people, but it's just responsibility that they've been carrying. And they have had the opportunity to discover who they are. And they've gotten to a point, I think, where they're actually comfortable with themselves. They're happy. They've finally set something up for themselves. They've finally figured out a vision for their life. They were finally settling in and settling down and thinking, okay, these are my golden years. I'm gonna enjoy life now. And if you've met this person, I will treat it as such, that you have met this person, but if this is someone you are anticipating, feel free to interpret it that way. But meeting you for this person, it's a bit of I thought the work was done, which is coming through in a light energy. What I mean by that is, this person finally thought they're on holiday, they can relax, they have just gotten the hang of everything. They started feeling comfortable where they are. And now they're like, there goes my comforts. New person, new intensity, new level unlocked. And it's not that they're not up for the challenge. I think this person views this connection as a challenge, as responsibility, as work. And they have made mistakes in their past. I think this is someone who has made mistakes and who has had to learn from them, and through their own pain especially. They have learned to be more discerning of their own patterns first and foremost. With this person, I think one thing that's very admirable is that there is a lot of introspective energy, because they spend so much time alone. I think they are most likely more of an introvert. I just saw 2222 as I was glancing at the time. They are potentially more introverted, or just someone who enjoys alone time a lot, even if they're not introverted necessarily. This person has been in more of a doer kind of energy, initiative taking kind of energy. Now they were becoming more passive. They were becoming more relaxed because they were getting comfortable where they are. And they see this situation as calling for a shift from that again and back into their initiative taking energy. But what they don't see yet maybe is that you don't intend to be passive either. You're not built to be passive. You're meant to be in control. But so is this person. And how does that work? Well, we have the androgen energy, which is a balanced, harmonious union where you don't complete each other, you complete yourselves, and then you make one even bigger whole. So two wholes make a bigger whole. And that's kind of the point. It's like two wholes write a bigger story. And that seems to be what this connection feels like. It feels like things flicking into space. Space, place, but maybe also into space. The thing is, this person is so used to being independent, I think they kind of wobble in a context of connection. They are coming across like, it's not that they're not experienced, but there is something about them that's very timid, that feels like hesitant. They have hurt people before. Maybe they have hurt you before if you have history with them. So there is a level of caution to this energy. They don't want to do anything recklessly. They know endings bring beginnings, and I think I'm mentioning that because for some of you there has been an ending in this person's life recently. A loss of some kind, a death, maybe, of someone they know, someone close to them. This could be in your life as well, and they know about it, but there is an energy of viewing this situation through a lens of like renewal, at least as something that holds potential for renewal, regeneration. And again, that may have to do with not with an ending within this connection, but with an ending from something outside of the connection, but something that affects the situation emotionally, because it affects the overall emotional environment of them or of you. I think you find the idea of this connection very attractive. I think they also do, and I think they find you very attractive, and vice versa. But on your end, I think there is still a slight level of caution, wanting to make sure this is the right thing, the right person, the right situation, that you have all of your facts straight. This person is a little bit more lost on that front. They don't really have all of their facts straight. I don't think they're as worried about being hurt. I think they are more worried about hurting someone outside of them, because they are in the mindset of I'll be fine anyway, because I have always been fine. But if I cause pain to someone else in a way that they can't rebound from it, or in a way that just really hurts them, I think this person doesn't want to hurt anyone. And maybe for some of you there are multiple people involved in this situation, or there is a third party. Only take that if you know that to be true already, because I think if that is the case, you would already know about it. This person is not in a place where they're feeling very attached. They're not in a place where they're approaching this situation from a place of fear. But it's a bit like they were just about to take a nap, and now they know they can't nap. They have things to do. Spirit, please how do my group ones view this connection? We have the Eight of Cups. For some of you, there may be especially if the situation hasn't like moved itself into place in the way that you hoped for, imagined, or visualized, you may be feeling disappointed about it, or that like you're doing the wrong thing or something. It's interesting because I feel like you know you're doing things right, but then you worry a lot about if you're doing things wrong, and you've been wrong this whole time. It's like, you know what you've been building towards, what you've been doing, that it's been significant to your journey, that it's been that you've been evolving. And then sometimes you think, what if everything has been wrong and it has all been a delusion and I need to throw it all away? Which makes sense, especially if you have had situations where you invested a lot and then it had to be undone. Bottom deck energy is death. Yeah. We have the King of Pentacles. I think you view this person as someone that would bring security, stability, structure in your life. This would be like, you would expect things from this person, and you are very right in doing so. Like, there's nothing wrong with having expectations, and I feel like self-care culture has gone to such an extreme that it's like, you don't owe anyone anything and nobody owes anything to you. And also nobody needs to care about each other and you don't need to care about anyone. And in some ways it's true, but as I was saying, this bottom deck energy is the Ten of Swords in reverse. So it's not, the message is not like, don't care about people. The message is not destroy other people because you don't owe anything to them. Like, yes, sister, like, it's not, you know, it's not, the point is not to not care. The point is to not care about the wrong people or the people that don't matter. And how do we figure that out? We figure it out by caring about the wrong people and caring about people, or like giving too much to people that can't take it or don't want it or can't meet that level. You do live and you learn. And by you, I mean we, all of us. I'm not exempt from this. Nobody is, and that's kind of the point. But the point isn't to just grow so cold and distant from everyone. And yes, you don't, like, in some ways, yes, you don't owe anything to anyone, but that doesn't mean if you hurt someone, you don't owe them accountability. And I'm not talking about, like, you in particular. I'm not saying you don't take accountability, but it's just, like, don't let people make you feel bad for having normal human expectations and, yeah, wanting, like, a healthy, wanting to be in a healthy situation where people are accountable and people care and not everyone is pushed into this trend of not caring. Because, yeah, people, like, it's normal to get tired of dealing with emotional immaturity. And I'm saying this because I feel like you have matured quite a lot emotionally. Also because you've had to nurse people to emotional maturity. Or a version of that. Emotional improvement, maybe? And maybe part of you is wondering, like, is this person also like that? Am I gonna have to nurture this person, or are they able to meet me and my energy? Which is, all of these are fair questions to ask, and it's a fair expectation to have, to want to be with someone where you are caring for each other mutually, and it's not just one person doing all the work that needs to be done. So how does this person view this connection, please, Spirit? Thing is, I feel like not too much has progressed yet in this situation. We have the Hanged Man. For this person, this connection is like really in a, almost like a dormant state. So I'm wondering if the majority of you have met this person in more of an avoidant energy and more of like an I'm independent and I have set my rules, my boundaries, my life. I am in this energy and I'm going to close my eyes to anything else now because I'm getting comfortable here now. You may have experienced this version of this energy. You may be experiencing this version of this energy because there is this Pisces escapist tinge to them. So while they are very independent, I think this is part of their defense mechanism too, that you don't get involved, you don't get hurt. And you don't get involved, you don't hurt anyone else, because I feel like this person hurts more for other people than they hurt for themselves. And then we have the Queen of Cups in reverse. They're not in a place where they want to receive love. There is a part of them that perceives you as having been hurt, and that this connection and you are fragile, and that leaves them guessing and second guessing, and that leaves them a bit confused, a bit more guarded, because in their essence, they're coming across quite grounded in who they are. But I think they sometimes have a hard time finding their place in other people's lives or feeling comfortable being a permanent part of other people's lives. We have the Queen of Wands. They do find you very enticing and attractive and very interesting. They feel very familiar with you and they feel very connected to you. I think they feel quite at home in this connection. But they've always, there's almost a sense of they've always lived alone. How would another person even make sense in the context of their home? And that doesn't mean they've never been in a relationship necessarily. It doesn't have to mean that. It doesn't have to mean they've never connected with people. I think they actually have. But their sense of self has always been very separate, which is not a bad thing. But I think for them, it also serves as a defense mechanism, as a way to not go all in with anyone. And that's something they are learning. I mean, the work here is not done. They know that. But they were kind of just on a little break. That's what it feels like. But their work on themselves, their life's work, that's not done. You have Eight of Wands, but they are a bit tired. It's almost like they haven't been ready to go. They haven't been ready to move. They're kind of sleeping. There is an in and out between the potential of this connection, like of what it could be and what it is. The connection persists. The physical energy of it feels very unstable. We have the Star in reverse, which I'm going to cover up. It's literally a cartoon, and this is ridiculous, but YouTube censors me when I show cartoon women naked. Ridiculous, because this is clearly not sexual. Anyway, how I love being an object in the eyes of society. Spirit, how is this? For some of you, this person, I think, has maybe, could potentially have an anxiety disorder for some of you, or you could. Or for this person, PTSD. is also coming through. But take that as it resonates. Of course, that won't be the case for every single one of you. But mental health has been significant for both of your journeys. I mean, mental health is significant for everyone. I mean, it should be, honestly. But I think both of you have done work that has grounded both of you, like each of you, in your own psyche. But it feels like there hasn't yet been a proper opportunity, and there has been a bit of an aversion to working together. So if you've met this person, it's probably been very intense, but without an end goal in sight. But they call to you, you call to them. Feels like that kind of thing. Like there's a lot of attraction, but physically what's going on, it's up for debate. That's what it feels like. Is there anything else that wants to come through? The Tower and the High Priestess. New information coming out. Thank you for being so mysterious, Spirit. Can you tell us what? I already know you won't, but I'm going to keep an open mind. Can you tell us what? Guesses for which card this is going to be? The Six of Swords in reverse. And the Devil in reverse. Yeah. To me, this means, like, don't get caught up on that. Like, you don't have to worry about that now. If you worry about that now, you'll, like, move out. It's almost like you'll phase out of your present world. And that doesn't mean it's something to worry about necessarily, but it's, like, not information for right now. Then why are you saying it? Because you need to, well, not need to, but it would be helpful to learn to be okay with uncertainty. Even when it's super annoying. Four of Swords in reverse. Even when it's uncomfortable. Okay, well, is there anything else? Or should we go to the extended? In the extended, we will interrogate Spirit again on what it is that is going on, really, and we will get Spirit's perspective on what's really, really happening in this connection beyond your perception and theirs. We will get tons of channel messages from this person, also with the new deck, but also with the old one and the message bag, and we will then look at what is happening next in this connection and what shift that will bring to the dynamic and to the situation. If you are interested, the link will be down below. If not, that is perfectly okay, and I hope this reading was helpful to you. I am sending you tons of love. Take care, and bye.